All right. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me again for yet another Think Tip Tuesday. Listen, I have been talking about this for the last few weeks. As a matter of fact, I've been doing Think Tip Tuesday for this is the fifth week. Oh my gosh, the fifth week. Crazy. It's been a month already. And I just want to thank you all really quick for just rocking with me through the technical difficulties and just being with me as we continue this journey. As you know, those of you who have been following me, we've been talking about taking the leap. We are in the fourth quarter, and what better time to take the leap than now? So, I am, for those who don't know me, I am Dr. Deshonda, aka Dr. D. I am your author. I am a passion to profit coach and a business growth mentor. I actually help solo entrepreneurs that is in their early stages grow their business without the hassle of the hustle so that they can build their business without the burnout. So listen, last week I had one of my buddies, DJ C-Dub, with me. This week is such a treat because I have the Donzaleigh Powell with me, and you're going to find out just how special that is because this lady here is super busy, okay? She is not only, I don't want to say like bad words, but she's just a bad shut your mouth, okay? And but she's also a sister friend, and I'm so happy to have her. She is also going to be a speaker at our upcoming Leap Challenge Live Nashville coming up in just a few weeks, a couple of weeks actually, here in Nashville, October 23rd, Sunday afternoon. And listen, you do not want to miss it. By the way, I don't think I said it, but that is actually free. That conference is free. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But listen, let's bring in Miss Donzaleigh Powell. She is the CEO and founder of Donzaleigh Inc., which is all things Donzaleigh. And I'm going to have her share that with you here. So Donzaleigh.
Hey,
Here on our Think Tip Tuesday. So tell the people who you are, what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you, Dr. D. But I am, again, just Donzaleigh Powell, run Donzaleigh Incorporated. I have a few things going on, which she kind of mentioned. So I have a separate consulting company, D Connects LLC, also Donzaleigh's Photography. But Donzaleigh Incorporated, like she said, is just kind of like that umbrella company, just kind of that's overarching, just kind of talking about all of the things that I do. And with Donzaleigh Incorporated, it includes hosting and also having events. So I've kind of added that to my plate because I enjoy it so much.
Not to mention speaking. And listen, we could talk about all kinds of things, but Donzaleigh is actually all things connection. When I think about Donzaleigh, I think about everything that she does is all about connecting people with people. That's her passion. And so she does so much, but it's all connected. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So leap, taking the leap, right? First of all, thank you for joining us, not only for this morning, but for being in our Leap Challenge as one of our speakers who's going to talk to us about your journey, talk to us about the importance of setting goals and being focused. I don't think I've met anyone more motivated than you. So just kind of tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get to Donzaleigh Incorporated?
Oh, well, I'll start with when I was still in corporate America. All of the positions that I've had, I'm very much a progressionist. So I believe in once you get to a level, you just keep going, whatever that is. You might not be the best per se, but you give it your best, you do your best, and then you just kind of keep going. So that's just kind of how I go about life. And in those positions that I had, all of them, like she mentioned, were connecting. They were outward facing. I would be out in the community. I would need to know who the businesses were, who the nonprofits were, what were they doing? What are the programs? What do they entail? What are they looking for? So I was very much out in the forefront, meeting people, learning about what's going on, and then taking that information, bringing it back seeing how these different entities could connect, what made sense for them to partner, all of these things. So just kind of played that liaison role in everything that I've done. And so when I finally decided, okay, it's just time for me to leave corporate America and kind of go out, I had been doing photography for several years. So this is my 13th year doing that, but it was always a side thing, right? And then kept the full time. And then once I ventured out, okay, that was that leap, because literally when I say, I even had somebody that came in my office. I had turned in my notice, so everyone knew that I was leaving. I got plenty of notice and all of that stuff. And they came in my office and they sat down and they were like, it's scary, isn't it? And all I could do was just sit there and shake my head like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But so that is part of that leap in just, trusting that I was moving when I was supposed to move. I grew up with a, 2-parent household, very traditional, very stick it out, retire from someplace, like almost like it wouldn't matter what they did to you, stick it out and keep the job. And I was just no longer in that place. I think the more that we as a society right now, we're seeing, hey, no, we have some options. Yeah. It might have used to have been like that, but do I have to? No. And as soon as I got to the place to where I didn't have to, I did it and went ahead and took that leap. And so it's just kind of been a weird transition as far as you've got your ups and downs. Literally right after I had launched the business, we had the tornado here in the Nashville area. Yep. Devastated everything. So I took everything immediately right back down because it just wasn't the time to be talking about, I got a new business. And then 2 weeks after that was COVID. So it disrupted everything that I had in my mind. Like I said, being outward, going to events and things, I could not do that. And so had to re-step, take a step back, and use that time though to gain a license in order to be able to do surety bonding. So I have my insurance license. So it's things like that again, you just kind of, sometimes you do have to pivot, or you have to shift a little bit, or you just have to circle back around. And so that's what I've been doing.
Man, first of all, your journey is just amazing. Anyway, but let me just kind of tell the people a little bit about our connection, because we both actually met in corporate America. So she actually worked, we talked about here in Nashville at the Nashville airport. And she was one of the directors that dealt with diversity and like small businesses, diversity owned businesses. And I was the director of operations for one of those vendors. So we connected on the professional level. Then I actually had to take my leap around the same time, but maybe a little bit earlier, but it was kind of mid 2019 ish. And I never will forget this. I looked on Facebook because I was trying to just connect a little bit more with people in Nashville, because although I worked here, I didn't really know people outside of my job. So I saw that at the time while I was working out and I was very active, I saw that we had a lot in common. So I tried to reach out to Donzaleigh via DM, and probably about, 8, 9, 10 months later, she responded as if I just sent the DM, and I was like, oh, okay. So we connected, and it's been an amazing connection ever since. But I say that because, number one, and this is just kind of a side note, connections really do matter, because as you stated, it's not entrepreneurship. It is a scary journey. It's not, I'm not here to blow smoke to those who are following me. I want to bring the real, because I feel like that is how people are set up for success. And there's so much out here in terms of, what you can do. And I think I mentioned this last week, and maybe in another episode, about hearing all of the different people talk about what you can do overnight and what you can do within a short period of time. But I always say, do not be fooled, because, you can take different leaps and bounds in your business where something do come overnight, but it's only attached to multiple times before that you have put in consistent work and hard work and pivoting and dealing with challenges like the tornado and then COVID, because I dealt with the exact same thing. I was so ready, and I never will forget. I'm also a college instructor, as most of you know, and I was teaching for Nashville State, and we were on spring break. We were on spring break that year, and everything shut down. And so we didn't even know, like, coming back to from spring break, the school didn't know how we was going to pivot because everything had shut down. So I was thinking to myself, like, holy moly, I just quit my job a few months ago. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So anyways, I can go on and on. This is great because you pretty much talked about how you had to pivot. We know that we are pretty much still kind of in a pandemic, but we were in a situation where we were literally closed down for such a long time. It was so much going on just in our nation, really in the world. So much uncertainties. And so, small business owners like yourself and like me, we had to really be creative. So let's just talk about that a little bit. What were some of the things that you did to kind of keep yourself afloat in these like challenging times?
Yeah, well, obviously the pandemic, none of us, I'll say that. I'm not going to say no one was expecting, but none of us were expecting it. And because not only on the consulting side was that outward facing, also photography.
Yeah.
I got to be around people to take the picture. So that too was kind of like on hold. Like it literally, it was just one of those things. I'm not sure about everybody else. But I'm a believer, and it's almost like these opportunities or things would kind of drop in my lap that would get me by, if that makes any sense. And so it might be periods of time where I'm just like, I have no idea how I'm going. I just did not know. And then boom, something would happen and I'd be good for, long enough to make it to the next time that something But I think a part of what I do appreciate about all of that, number one, she mentioned that I'm busy. So I try to do much better with that as far as having some balance, because when I was in corporate, oh my goodness, like there was no balance. I literally would get up I think at that time I was working out at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I would take my clothes to the gym, get my shower, head straight to work, be there at least by 6, probably one of the first people walking in the door, work until I just could not take it anymore that evening. Home, fall out.
Yeah.
Repeat. So there really wasn't balance. And I would try to fit in, photography or whatnot when I could, but literally there was no balance. So when we did get shut down, I do appreciate that it forced me to slow down. Mm-hmm. And it helped me to, again, start thinking about what are some of those other things that I like to do. Dr. D is very familiar when we talk about like goals and things like that. Like even if I can't do it yet, even if it's not a now, I like to get it out. I like to still think about it. I like to have it written as a reminder to say, it may not be now, but it's coming. It's coming. And one of our friends, she has this catchphrase, greater is coming.
Yes.
And that has become one of the things that pops in my head all the time now. Greater is coming. So just knowing that and being able to take that step back to, even while I had that shaky time period, still having some sense of peace about it. Like, okay, it's rocky, but, just staying disciplined and still doing what you can in order to plan and try to figure it out the best that you can. That way, once you can do, you're kind of accelerating your movement.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that popped in my head. It was the importance of being really clear about your vision and being goal oriented, what that really means. Because I think that we talk about goals and as generally, and we talk about, the importance of being goal oriented, but, what does that really mean? Right. So one of the things, Donzaleigh and I, we've actually did some speaking engagements where we've actually talked about, goal clarity and what that looks like and how important it is. One of the reasons why I decided to bring this LEAP challenge to Nashville is because I really wanted to encourage that particular person. Like, I always want to make sure I'm really clear about who I'm speaking with, because everything is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is certainly not for everyone, only because everyone's just not going to do the work. Okay. But that person who really has that burning desire, that vision, they know that they're supposed to be doing something much greater than what they're doing. As you talked about, trying to balance, but really not finding balance. And it's so crazy because I think I work more as an entrepreneur, but I'm more balanced than I was in corporate America. It's the weirdest thing ever, but it's the truth. And you have a little bit more, a little bit more control over your time. But that vision, those goals, writing those down, making sure that you have it visual before you, because when we do run into challenges, whether it's something as strenuous as a pandemic or our individual challenges, what those goals written down does, it kind of keeps you focused in the middle of a whole storm, right? So, Donzaleigh, we're talking about this LEAP challenge. Like, I know one thing for me, and this is not to bad talk any company or anything, because I'm very blessed. I've had a great career from a young lady, through when I decided to leap. Okay. But I had gotten to the point to where I felt like I stayed in position too long. And I was actually in the situation where I felt like I was kind of thrust into my leap, and it was which made it even more uncomfortable and more faith driven, which that part is good, but very, very uncomfortable. So I didn't really have, I've always had vision. I've always had my side hustle. I've always had a plan, kind of, right? But not an exit plan, like not, okay, in this amount of time, I'm going to look at transitioning. Some things had just started happening. I started getting uncomfortable. It was affecting my physical and mental health. And so I decided, you know what, let me just give an ample, notice, and I can just figure something out. So, what was that something that you've dealt with, or what was that driving thing that caused you to say, you know what, I need to do something else?
That's pretty much exactly what I dealt with. The only thing I will say, I have a few mentors, and they vary from, age, race, I just in different areas. Correct. So I have one in particular that I usually only reach out to him when I'm in this kind of place to where I just don't really have a clue what I'm going to do, right? Just to help me bring a whole different perspective. And so I had that meeting. Now, this was well before, I'd say maybe, within a year before me deciding to leave. But in that discussion came, you need an exit strategy. And even though I heard those words and I value, the feedback and don't get it twisted. I have a lot of dreams and aspirations. And so really deciding, okay, when we say exit strategy, what exactly is that going to mean for me? That was more of the challenge for me versus me being ready to do it. It's okay, how do I hone what it is that I'm going to do or need to be doing? And it just kind of was one of those situations where I didn't really quote unquote work on it. Yeah. And so then I got in that position of, okay, I tried to tell you, and you hadn't been doing it. Okay, now what you gonna do? Now I done put you in a situation. What you gonna do now? Game on. It's on you, because you done wasted this year that I gave you. I said, oh, okay. Let me go ahead. It truly was, and I do agree. It was definitely a faith thing, but I felt very confident. As scary as it was, I felt so confident that it was leave. It was not oh, think about it. No, I knew I needed to venture out and go a different route. And so that's just what I did without knowing exactly what or anything, yeah, I had some savings and things like that, but still, I'm not super rich or anything. So it's still like, okay, you still have bills coming in. They don't stop. So yeah, it was a little scary, but I'm glad, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Me either. I remember mine was like, it was one night because I kept pondering. It was the same type of thing. It was like, okay, you still want to keep on I mean, like, it was like the heat just kept being turned up. As a matter of fact, when I wrote my resignation letter, I apologize. And I specifically say, hey, I am a little bit unique, as I know that what has been presented on the surface is not the real issue here, that there's something much deeper that I had to kind of be obedient with leaving and spreading my wings, because it's crazy. I mean, I felt like I was we talk about mounting up like an eagle and things like that. A lot of people use eagle, but I really felt like I had like wings of an eagle in the office. Now so I tried to spread my wings and it was just hitting and flapping up against the wall. So I remember the night that it was time for me to leave. I cried. I didn't even sleep that night. I did an all-nighter. I just cried and cried and cried. I didn't know what the world I was going to do. And then that morning, everything was just so peaceful. Yep. It was very chaotic, but around me, it was very peaceful. That was my confirmation. And so, not trying to take it to church, but faith is extremely played a very important role in, not, having the faith of God in me, but just who I was created to be. Because I remember my vision coming several years prior, that when I was revealed, when I was in another valley, I was actually working a great job. I had left one job, went to be a VP of HR, and then the job just went just out the blue. Had nothing to do with any disaster or anything. It was just an internal situation that went left, and I was left without a job. Right. And I could not land another job to save my life. I just couldn't. But in doing that, I had like a little temper tantrum, and it was revealed in a dream. It's like, first of all, you're looking in the wrong place. You're supposed to be an entrepreneur. And I just started studying what that meant. And when I started doing that, I promise you, everybody that I connected with were entrepreneurs for the first time in my life. That was several years prior. Then I stepped out on faith and did things, right? And then all of a sudden I got scared. And I told Lord, I prayed, I really need some steady income. Like I was living with my parents at the time. And so jobs opened up, including this last job I was in. But it was like, this was just for you to have some steady income, for you to do what you were supposed to do anyway. And since you got comfortable, now I had to turn up the heat. It really was hell.
Well, how earlier you mentioned about, for me, connection. I think connection is really important to me. Exposure is really important to me. Leadership is really important to me. So obviously some of the audience viewing this may not know this, but I was a teen mom. And so I really, that whole, situation, and of course now my son is grown and everything like that. But as you work through that really changed a lot. It changed, perspective. It changed, it really catapulted kind of I gotta get it. Yeah. Like, because I didn't have focus. And so it really changed that for me. And that started that whole mindset of progression. And I think doing the things that we do. So like, for instance, she mentioned also about doing public speaking. I love training, especially college age students. Like that is my ideal target audience. I can still do everybody else, business, I could do corporate, all of that is fine. And that's cool. But just to fulfill in here, that group right there, because typically they're at this point in their life where they can now start making decisions. Yep. They literally, you opening their mind and letting them know, hey, it's a whole nother world out there. It's so much more than what you've seen so far. You might have seen a lot, but there's a whole lot more. And so don't stop. And just that light bulb of them starting to think big, like, and really take that on. And that's part of that, some of the sessions that we've done, the goal setting, and really, how do you really make it happen? Stop just saying it. Stop just saying, oh my God, no. How are you actually going to make it happen? So I can't wait till we start that series up again, as far as just kind of helping people navigate through that.
Yeah, I know when I was talking to Corey, a lot of people know him as DJ C-Dub last week, we mentioned the same thing. We, just kind of, especially at college age, like I said, I'm a college instructor, has been for several years. And so that's those my peeps too.
Yes.
But just, I remember, like you, very traditional home, 2-parent home, coming up, get a job, stick with it, go to college to be successful. And God knows, I'm not against college because, again, I'm a college instructor, but just not having certain opportunities or options presented until I kind of had to find out and figure out, and had these different opportunities have been, options that were on the table, perhaps, my journey would have been different, a little bit. And so one of the passions that I have as well is just making sure that these individuals that are right there where they are adults, but they still trying to figure life out. They're, like you said, they're at the point to where they have to make their own decisions, but that it's not just, they're not in this box that people put them in, that they understand that opportunities are endless. You got to connect the work ethic to it. but there are so many opportunities out here. In fact, first of all, what is your definition of success? Because there's no overarching definition of success. I mean, to me, my definition is that you set a goal, you meet the goal. That's success. And then you need to make some more goals. Like, as long as you breathing and living, you always making brand new goals. So great point, about making sure that, people understand there are options. And I think for me, another passion is that, maybe someone who look like you and I may be in the situation where they are on their jobs, or, maybe they're already in their business, but, they're kind of stagnated in what their next step is going to be, how they're going to move, because the options have just kind of been slim, and, and then you have this burning desire. Like for me, I thought I knew what entrepreneurship was when it was, shown to me in a dream. I had to really look into it and be like, what really is entrepreneurship? I've been using it. I've heard the word, but then I started thinking, I was like, oh, and listen, it's different, because it's not the same as a hustler. I'm just going to tell you,
right. Nope.
You're building something that is so much bigger than you and anything that's attached to you. So it's if it's comfortable, it's not entrepreneurship, by the way. So, so I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Now let's just kind of talk about this event that's coming up. I'm so excited, so excited, because like I said, I really want people to have options before them. And when I talk about taking the leap, I'm not talking about you just leaving with your job. You don't have the level of faith. You don't have the work ethic. You need to have some type of plan. And in some cases, you may have to leave, your plan may not be perfected, but you definitely got to be ready to roll. Right. But it was just something that was really, just was nagging with me. And I was like, I had an opportunity to do a live event. And so I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and step out and do this live event to just help people understand what that means. And so LEAP is actually an acronym. It's, it's kind of like success for business. So you want to leverage your passion. So we talked about vision. What is your vision? What is the clarity of that? We're going to talk about that here in a second. You want to have an elevated mindset, because if you're like Donzaleigh and I had to elevate my mindset to entrepreneurship. I'm just going to go and tell you. And then, accelerating and attracting your ideal customer. And then, of course, what's the appropriate pricing. So the underline of LEAP is, being clear about what it is that you want to do. in this journey. So tell me a little bit from your perspective, Donzaleigh, you know, what does it mean to you to be able to provide this type of information to our community here in Nashville?
Very excited about it. I think when you just mentioned about success and what does that mean, like that is so individualized.
Mm-hmm.
So each person that comes has their own, their own definition of that. So it's not for me to tell you, oh, you need to do it like I. No, absolutely not. Everybody is not the same. That is not the goal. But when I look at, and that's why sometimes I hear people and they go on and on about, well, best practice this, best practice that. Yes, maybe that's the best practice for you. That doesn't automatically mean it's a best practice for me, because if that's not motivating me, you talked about burnout. We're trying to prevent burnout. I'm doing everything that I love right now. You ain't seen no burnout from me. You're going to keep seeing me. You've seen me doing this same thing consistently for years, and you're going to continue to see it because that was put in me for a reason. And all I'm doing is taking what was put in me and giving it back. Literally. That's it. That's what I do for a living. So success is different. So I want people to be comfortable enough to just get to that place to be like, it's okay to be uncomfortable and for me to get to whatever that is for me. Mm-hmm. For them. Same thing.
Right. All right. Listen, I cannot express just how exciting I am about this upcoming event. You all see it. You've met Corey last week. You've met Donzaleigh, a little snippet of what you're going to experience. Listen, this event is not just an event. It is an experience. It's going to be a training. So you're going to want to come to this free event, by the way, ready to work, ready to kind of have input, but be ready to output. Because when we're talking about leaping, we're talking about action. We're not talking about just talking and all of that. And the one thing that Donzaleigh mentioned about having mentors, I have several mentors as well. I have a business mentor, spiritual mentor, mental mentor, financial mentor. I mean, listen, mentorship is important. We'll talk about that too. But I had my business mentor. She mentioned something either today or maybe a day or two ago. And she was just talking about the fourth quarter and how, it's important, because I know I used to be like this, like, oh, it's October. I'll just, at the beginning of the year, I'll start. But let me just tell you, we still have like 80 some days in this year. And why put off tomorrow what you can do today? When we're talking about leaping, we're not talking about selling dreams or blowing smoke. We're talking about making action and being in the center of your purpose, because it's not just about you. It's about your family, generations to come, but it is also about the people's lives that you're going to touch because of that vision that you have inside of you, your vision, right? So it's very important that you come ready to work. It's very important that you come ready to be poured into. And as I was stating, my mentor was just talking about how when you start now, you are going to be ahead of the game for those who have the mentality of waiting until next year. Think about how many times that you say, I'm going to start, and how much time has passed during your gonna start, right? So let's start now. This LEAP event, this LEAP challenge is all about what can we do right now to start, to take action, to move towards that goal, because it's time. It's absolutely time. So with that being said, before I get out of here, Donzaleigh, do you have anything for the people today that you want to leave?
I guess just in the meantime, even before these next couple of weeks, there's still time that you could be thinking and preparing yourself mentally for one, and thinking about, okay, how am I going to be consistent this time? You might not have ever before, or you might have done well for a while and then you fall off, and that's okay. We're human. That happens. But this time, in these couple weeks, be thinking, how am I going to stick to it? What kind of accountability, what kind of support do I have to stay on me? Like literally, I'm in the process of writing my first book, and I've already told a couple of people, I'm like, look, stay on me. check in from time to time just to make sure, even though I want to do it myself, it doesn't hurt to have somebody come in like, hey, you've been working on how far you got. you need that. So go ahead, start thinking about that now.
Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much, Donzaleigh. First of all, tell us where we can find you, maybe on social media.
Sure. So you can go to DonzaleighInc.com, or I'm also on Facebook, Donzaleigh Inc., also Donzaleigh's Photography, also DConnectsLLC.com. Hey, you want to find me? It's not that hard. I have a pretty uncommon name, so you should be able to find me.
It's not that hard, but we're going to have all that information in the comments. We're also going to have the link to how you can join us for this free live event on October the 23rd at 1 p.m. That's on a Sunday. And we are so excited. We look forward to having you here. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Think Tip Tuesday. And listen, until next week, stay tuned. I'll see you next time. Same place, same time. We out. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello there. Thank you for joining me in the Think Tip Tuesday space. I'll see you at the same time in this same space next week. But in the meantime, don't forget to like and share this video. If you don't already, follow me on social media. And yes, subscribe to my YouTube channel for even more tips and free resources.